and welcome to the show.
We are a brand new podcast called Where Do We Begin?
My name's Harper, and the soothing tones opposite me, name's Jackson. Good to see you.
How are you, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm not bad, actually. So we're just a little couple of nobodies in the sports world, really, and interviewing heaps of sports people from the Australian landscape. So that should be good, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should be really, really interesting. Can't wait to get into the few interviews we have lined up.
Yeah, it should be cracking. And we've got absolute stars lined up. Not just footy, any sport really. We'll go with anything. What sports are you into mostly?
So, big footy fan. Definitely a big footy fan. I'm a Collingwood supporter. Been that for my whole life. I know you're an Essendon supporter, so it's a big rivalry going on here, but very excited to hopefully introduce some Collingwood people. But big footy person. Played soccer all my life. Just haven't really stopped. I've stopped outdoor recently. Started playing futsal for the last few years. And
what's futsal?
So futsal is a indoor version of the outdoor game. So five-a-side, harder ball, indoor court, just a more fast-paced version of the outdoor game.
Yeah, and I'll let the listeners know, we actually know each other from futsal. Jackson's my old coach. He's, how old are you, 22?
I'm 22 right now, yeah.
Yeah, I'm 17, year 12 at the moment. Big footy fan, big soccer fan, playing futsal still. Big Bombers fan, like Jackson said. Arsenal in the Premier League, victory in the A-League. Have you got any international soccer teams you go for?
Well, obviously my family's from Spain, so I'm a big Barcelona supporter because they're from around that region. But realistically, I like watching footy more than I do like watching soccer. So I have sort of team allegiances, but not like huge. I don't really support anyone in the Premier League, just like the league. If it's on, I'll watch it. But mainly very into my footy more than outdoor soccer. I'll play it rather than watch it.
Fair enough. Were you born in Spain? Born over here?
I was born over here. I've got my Spanish passport, so which is good to have dual citizenship.
Don't mind that.
Oh yeah, it's fairly useful. Born here, lived in basically in a North Melbourne my whole life. Just playing soccer, playing futsal around that area. How about you?
Yeah, well, I was born in Tokyo, but I only lived there for about a year, I think. And then other than that, been in Melbourne my whole life. Northern suburbs like you. We're in the Coburg studio at the moment. So, that's good. And, haven't really got any Spanish family or nothing too diverse like you, just mostly English and stuff.
So, seeing as this is our first foray into making a podcast, obviously we always listen to podcasts. What are your favourite podcasts to listen to, Harper?
Well, as an Arsenal fan, I don't mind the Arscast from Arsblog, that's a good one. Football Weekly from The Guardian, don't mind that. In terms of footy ones, listen to a bit of AFL Exchange. Do you know that one?
Is that the one run by the AFL?
Yeah. AFL,
I did listen to that one for a little bit. I'm more into the Fox Footy one, but they've been uploading sort of short snippets the last few weeks, so I unsubscribed from that one because it just got annoying under my feed.
Yeah, fair enough. And Footyology podcast, don't mind that as well.
I haven't heard of that one. I must check it out.
A couple of old guys, Rowan Connolly and Mark Fine. They won't like to hear that, but there you go. And AFL Exchange, more of a young guys in the AFL media team. That's good. What else? What do you listen to?
I'm a big fan of podcasts. Just not even sports ones. One of my favourite ones is a comedy podcast run by two comedians from Melbourne called The Little Dum Dum Club. It's a very fun podcast. They interview comedians from Melbourne and anywhere else really, and famous sort of comedians. They'll interview them and have a chat with them. It's really fun.
What are their names?
So we have Carl Chandler and Tommy Dassolo, so two Melbourne comedians, not as well known, but
I never heard of them.
But they interview the likes of sort of Nazim Hussain. Recently, they had him on. Dave O'Neill, they have on a fair few times. Dave Hughes, a lot of those guys.
Yeah, well, they're not as big names as we're getting on the show, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. In terms of sport podcasts, big fan of the Junk Time AFL podcast. So it's two comedians where they're talking about footy now. they're pretty funny every week, just sort of taking the piss out of AFL, the AFL media and world in general. Who else? Two Guys, One Cup.
Yeah, Will Anderson and
Charlie Clausen. Also listen to their non-AFL podcast, TOFOP, which is really, really interesting. And one I listen to every week is the Simpsons podcast called Four Finger Discount.
The Simpsons podcast?
Yeah.
They just go through episodes? What do they
Yeah, they literally just review every single episode. So that every week there's the next episode.
I do not listen to any podcasts that aren't sport related. Like, I've tried and I just can't get into them.
I love it. It's just like... It's just a way to get away from sort of sport for a little bit. Like,
do you want to get away from sport?
Sometimes, sometimes. The Little Dum Dum Club is pretty funny. They just like all the guests they have, they sort of riffs that go on, and you have sort of inside jokes with other listeners, even though I haven't met that many. But sort of on the Facebook forums and everything, just all of their like inside jokes get around the Facebook groups. The Four Finger Discount's pretty funny because it's two guys just who know all their Simpsons stuff. They wrote a book as well about the Simpsons.
Unofficial?
An unofficial book about the Simpsons, but yeah.
Unofficial podcast, not related.
Nah, it's not a Simpsons podcast. It's just them two guys from Geelong just chatting about the Simpsons every single episode.
Yeah, well, got to say, even though I don't really listen to many non-sports podcasts, most of the podcasts I listen to at the moment are non-sports because there's not really any sports going on in the middle of this crisis we're going through.
How is that going? Is like with all the sport podcasts? Because I know Junk Time is still sort of uploading episodes being like, what was supposed to be round 3 of the 2020 season. How is it going for like the sport podcast? You guys,
everyone's still uploading, but they're either looking back at like old, I know Football Weekly, The Guardian, they're looking back at old like classic matches and reviewing them as if they just happened. And they're like doing interviews where they're panelists, getting to know them a bit like we're doing now. And the Arsecast, they're talking absolute bollocks the whole time, really. Not really talking about Arsenal much. And AFL Exchange, they're talking a bit about like just the past, really, their favourite players of certain categories. Right, yeah.
Another podcast that just came to mind, which this podcast will take a little bit of inspiration from, is the Dylan Friends podcast.
Dylan Friends, yeah.
Big fan of it. Like I listen to it fairly often whenever it comes out. Just Dill Buckley's just a really good bloke. It just seems that way. So
people who don't know it, how would you describe it?
It'll sort of be like this sort of podcast where it'll just be Dill Buckley, who's a former AFL player, but retired AFL player who just has a chat with his mates, mainly GWS players at the start, but a lot of other people from the sports spectrum come in and just have a chat, just goes through their life, which will sort of hopefully be like this podcast.
Yeah, it's not totally a sports thing. They just chat about anything, really. Talk, lots of mental health talk in it. Anything and everything, really, like this.
Yeah. Another one is the Howie Games. Have you checked that out?
Never heard of it.
So you know Mark Howard, the commentator?
Oh, yep, cricket guy?
Yeah, the cricket guy. He's got a pretty good podcast. Gets very in-depth without everyone's lives. A lot of famous cricketers, a fair few footballers as well.
Heard of that, actually.
Really, really good, really interesting. I used to listen to that one a lot at work. Just couldn't keep up with it. So I was
You're a cricket fan as well?
Oh, yeah, I love my cricket. I played it for a fair few years. It was never any good. I was always a wicketkeeper. But yeah, so I love it though. Love watching it. Just when the test comes on, it's just so like the intricacies of the game. Like I'm trying to explain it to someone who doesn't like cricket. It's just like, why do you like cricket? It's like all the little intricacies of test cricket. It's just what makes it so interesting.
Are you into your short form, your ODIs and your T20s, or just tests?
I'm into both. I have a BBL team. I go for the Hobart Hurricanes just mainly because they have the best team in the league. But Test cricket, it's the modern, like it's the traditional form of the game. Just so many little intricacies compared to Big Bash, where it's like get the highest runs.
Yeah, I only really watch
and that's it. Whereas Test cricket is sort of like when to sort of stay in and all that sort of stuff, like when to get a new bowler in.
Tactical.
Very tactical, very, very tactical.
Yeah, and you're a big tactics man.
Yeah, so let's go into that. So yeah, coaching.
Yeah.
How was so obviously I was Harper's coach, and it would have been sort of my first time coaching juniors. How did I go? Basically, I've never really talked to you about this. How?
No, you're a good coach. One of the best coaches I've had, actually. Really enthusiastic.
Sort of pride myself on that.
Yeah, you were pretty young when you coached. You would have been what, 18?
Yeah, 17, 18, definitely. I remember just stopping juniors, and then one of the head honchos at futsal was just like, "Hey, do you want to coach?" And I was like, "Of course."
Yeah.
I just love the game, so I was just
Still
like,
coaching now?
I haven't done it for a while, but I was coaching my little under eights, and they were just the best thing. Like getting up at 9 a.m. on a Saturday was definitely worth it to just see these little blokes run around. They weren't, they were just trying their hearts out, you know. They get smashed, but like they'd try their heart out. If they were 10-0 down and then scored a goal, they'd celebrate like they'd won the World Cup. So it was fantastic.
Yeah. I coached for a bit myself. Didn't mind it. Yeah.
You were helping me for a bit there, weren't you?
Was I?
With Carlton? Just
I
help.
was doing it at Thomastown. You were doing it in Brunswick.
Yeah, exactly. Same club, but yeah.
So yeah, same club, but I was doing it at a separate venue, and then we both played together for a bit at Carlton as well.
Yeah, did we play much together?
I reckon we played a couple. We trained together, and we played,
definitely trained together.
played a couple of games. I reckon.
Yeah.
I remember. I think.
Filling in for the younger age groups, definitely. It's very interesting, this sort of dynamic, but I'd say we're sort of mates now. Just I've filled in for your indoor soccer team.
Yeah.
You are yet to fill in for mine, but hopefully it'll happen sometime soon.
Yeah, Schmeichel FC, Tuesday
Big
night.
shout out.
Futsal social league team. Check them out on Instagram. And who do you play for? Who's your social team?
So my social team is me and my mates from high school. We're called Beans, and we were a baked bean kit because obviously you have to with a name like that. Monday night social, we two finals, 2 wins, so 2 premierships. We didn't make the granny this season, but we'll go on to next season. Our number 1 ticket holder is Lee Broxham, just FYI.
Well, we played in one final, Bronze Cup semi-final.
Oh, huge.
And we won it. So, and then we didn't get a chance to play the final because of Corona. So pretty much champions, you know?
Oh, yeah, you just say it. Just say it.
Yeah, champions. Did 5 Tuesday night.
Love that. So, yeah, that's basically all the sport we play. Have you played anything other than futsal?
Played footy for 3 years or so, but I was a bit too good, so stopped.
So I had to give it up.
Yep.
I played footy for a year as well. I've just literally had my hand in so many sports. I used to do tennis lessons, swimming lessons.
Oh, I did tennis for a bit as well. I didn't do it competitively, but
No, not competitively at all. Never played a game, just only lessons. But cricket definitely played, I think, probably for like 4 years. Definitely just wicketkeeper.
Yep.
Couldn't bat in the middle, just couldn't make too many runs, but always enthusiastic.
Yep.
Soccer for probably about 10 years, futsal for about 5 now, up to this point. And then, footy for a year while I was still playing soccer in juniors. And I wanted to try my hand at footy. I played for the famous Fitzroy Reds.
Fitzroy Reds, yeah.
Fitzroy Reds. Played 1 season, probably played about 4 games, took 1 specky, and I was like, nah, going back to soccer. Hey guys, don't forget to follow us on the socials. Twitter and Instagram is at WDWBpod. That's WDWBpod. On Facebook, look us up, Where Do We Begin, with a question mark. And get in touch with us through our email, wheredowebeginpod@gmail.com. And leave us a 5-star review.
So going back to your earlier life, where'd you go to school?
So I went to school Fitzroy High, which is you'll know it well because you go to uni high and we're sort of rivals on the sports scene there. So I remember
feud there.
You wouldn't have been in the same any age group with me, but I remember playing against uni high back probably either year 11 or 12.
When did you graduate?
I graduated 2015.
That was my first year. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Did you see me that day at uni high? We played volleyball at uni high 1 year. We were just the thing with Fitzroy, I love it to death. Like, really good school. I'll very much I recommend it to people, but just with our sport, we don't take it too seriously. So it was very funny when we just ended up in the volleyball final against Uni High.
Yep.
Which they were all in their matching uniforms and everything, and we just rocked up in our t-shirts and made the final. And we only lost them by like 2 points in the last set, so we did take a set off them, which was very funny.
Yeah, well, most recent in-school sport I had, maybe the last one ever, because it doesn't look like we were having many more, was we had cricket in term 1 this year. So year 11s and year 12s. There were maybe 10 boys doing it. Oh, no, I think we got 11 in the end, just managed to get a full 10. And us and Cedar were the only 2 teams.
Oh, Cedar's in your age group now.
School.
Wow.
So, yeah, us and Cedar. Cedar had 2 teams in it, and we were the only other team. And they killed us.
I could imagine. It wasn't the cricket Cedar?
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Cedar. Yeah.
Of course.
But I took a catch.
Oh,
so
huge.
I like to think I'm a bit of a Brad Haddon.
Oh, I love
You
it.
say so myself.
Yeah, so remember playing volleyball a lot at high school. Was a big fan of that.
When you were in year 12, you would have been coaching me, I think, with
More than likely.
Dave. Big shout out to Dave if he's listening.
Yeah, more than likely. Yeah, my first sort of memories of coaching were definitely coaching kids that didn't really know the game a lot. So with futsal in Australia, it's not as huge. So you're basically teaching kids how to play and not exactly the skills of the game. You're just literally teaching them how to kick a ball.
Yeah, soccer and futsal isn't as in the culture as it is in most other countries, really. It's just not a massive thing. Like, not one of the biggest sports, especially futsal.
Yeah, exactly. Futsal is very, very niche.
Yeah.
Although if you get in the right crowds, a lot of people know it, but just very, very niche, not well known to the greater audience.
Yeah, but to the 2 people who've listened to our test interview with Pepe Filho, they know that we spoke to him about social teams, and everyone that's played it just loves it.
Oh yeah, I can like people who come down and watch and even play. Like I've got my cousin who just comes down and watches every week, and she loves it. Just wants she's got no sense of direction or can't kick a ball straight if it'll help her life, but she'll come down and watch every single game and just gets into it, loves it.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, Schmeichel FC, we've got a big fan base growing. I think we're the most supported team on Tuesday night, really.
On Tuesday night, maybe.
Yeah.
Monday night's definitely.
I reckon we go toe to toe with Beans in terms of their crowd support.
Oh, maybe.
We've got all the parents.
Yeah, okay, they're fair enough. It's a slight advantage. We can all drive, but fair enough.
Yeah.
You've got the advantage there.
Big shout out to Dominic Dana, Joey's dad, vocal supporter from the sidelines.
So what would you say is your greatest sporting achievement, Harper?
My greatest sporting achievement? Tough. I remember, I played 3 years of footy. Yeah.
Yep.
Probably 20% time on ground overall.
Love that.
Maybe 40 games. 1 point over the 3 years. That was a bloody good point. It was like, remember when Dylan Buckley celebrated his point against Essendon?
Yeah.
I was like that. Running around, high-fiving all the people on the boundary. It's huge.
Love that.
How about you?
Serious? Like if I'm saying, it's a bit of a humble brag, but in futsal, I have become national champion in 2 different sort of federations. So with my club at the time, Carlton, we won Series Futsal Australia, which at that point was the best. Well, it's probably still is, but not as much so now. But at the time, it was the best club competition for futsal.
What's the best club competition now?
There isn't one that matches it, but the quality of Series Futsal Australia has just gone down a little bit because other teams from other states aren't coming anymore. Whereas like back in the day, you'd have 2 teams from every state come in and play in this tournament.
I remember those.
Whereas now there's not that many. There's only really players coming
Why
in.
did that stop?
Just a bit of politics between the sort of different federations. Like with futsal in Australia, it's not run by the one governing body like soccer is. So soccer is mainly run by the FFA, and they run a lot of competitions. But with futsal, it's very like I'm going to have my own federation, and everyone will have their own federation. So the one we play at Futsalers, run at Futsalers centres, run the Series Futsal Victoria and Series Futsal Australia tournaments. But then you also have other federations running in other states. And Yeah, so there's sort of always a bit of politics. So now the teams from other sort of federations in the States don't want to come in and play our tournaments anymore. But back in the day, that was the best one. And we beat Gold Coast in the final from Queensland, who'd won the last tournament. And then the other sort of tournament I won was we won the, what is it called? The AFA National Club Championships, which is your state. So I played for Victoria Country and we won. So we were the best state in Australia for that year. And then I went back this year and we lost in the semi-final, which is unfortunate.
Well, don't mind that. I don't think it's quite up there with the 1 point for West Coburg in 2014.
Definitely not.
Well, what's your best achievement as a fan of sports, do you reckon?
I was there for the 2010 grand final when my beloved Magpies won. I was also there for the draw, the last ever draw, so I'll hold my hat for that one. Also, I was there for the 18, but we won't mention that. I still haven't watched the game back at all.
We'll just go a little audio grab now.
Oh, no.
Sheed, did he play on? Did he take a step?
The clever shepherd from Rioli. Well, that's the question. Was Maynard blocked out of that one? Probably was.
If he kicks the goal, I think West Coast can win the grand final. 2 minutes and just under. Massive. Sheed from the boundary. Needs to be inch perfect. He is. He's got the most impossible goal. Unbelievable, the most acute angle in footy. And Sheed has kicked a remarkable grand final goal.
That moment was just heart-wrenching, honestly. But it was always going to happen. After that second quarter started, West Coast was just always on top of us and it was always going to happen. We just weren't ready for it. Even though most of our players hadn't been in a grand final since 2011. You can sort of base on it on West Coast being in the grand final, what was in 2014 when they lost to
2015?
Yeah, 15. So it's still 3 years, but yeah, definitely maybe some players. And it was our first sort of final series in 5 years, whereas West Coast were playing finals every single year. So knowing that sort of pressure, the West Coast players must have just switched on a bit more than we did.
Yeah. Well,
And I'm sure you loved it.
yeah, it was big. I've got to say, my best sporting achievement as a fan, probably the 2017-18 A-League season. Victory finished 4th on the table.
Yes. Yep.
Beat Adelaide in the elimination final. Went to that. I think it was 2-1.
Was that in Adelaide or in Melbourne?
That was in Melbourne.
Yep.
And then we had a semi-final against Sydney the next week. And that was on a Saturday night in Sydney. Went up there with a mate.
Yep.
We went 1-0 down after an own goal, after losing our best defender in the warm-up.
Yep.
And then we went 2-1 up.
Who was the best defender at that point? Was it Del Pierre?
Reece Williams.
Reece Williams.
Yeah.
Was Del Pierre
Del was
long gone by then?
seasons before that.
I love that guy.
Yeah, the big Frenchman. And yeah, we went 2-1 up. And then right at the dying stages, Sydney were just attacking us. They were attacking towards the end, the away end, where all the Victory fans were. And 95 minutes total, I think, 5 minutes of injury time. 94 minutes and 55 seconds or something. Terry Antonis, the former Sydney player, scores an own goal. It goes to extra time, and it's just
Heart-wrenching, isn't it?
heart-wrenching stuff. And all the Sydney fans are chanting Terry Antonis songs because he's a former player of theirs. And then in extra time, 115th minute or something, Terry Antonis runs half the length of the pitch, scores a goal, wins the game for Victory, runs into the crowd. It's just phenomenal. And then the next week went up to Newcastle on the Victory bus to see the grand final, and we won that. We won't talk about the goal.
I do remember watching that. It was very interesting, but my sort of love of outdoors sort of dwindled by then. So I was a massive Victory fan a few years before that, but just sort of lost interest a little bit, like as a lot of people are, unfortunately, with the A-League in general.
Yeah. Well, I think we might go to a quick break and we'll be back in a sec. Hey, guys, make sure you recommend us to all your mates out there because that's how podcasts get found. If you recommend us to all your mates, leave us a 5-star review wherever you can. Recommend them. We're on Spotify. We're on all your normal podcasting apps. So give us a shout out. Much appreciated. Thanks for that, Harper. Good stuff. I think the listeners have got to know us pretty well from that little chat we had.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Yeah, and look who's just walked in. Friend of the show, Gabrielle. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you? Thanks for letting me on.
No worries. And what's your relationship with me? Just for listeners?
I'm your mum.
Oh, very nice. How do you know Jackson?
How do I know Jackson? I know Jackson from Futsal Oz, Brunswick, when he was your coach, maybe 3-4 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, maybe in
I
a...
started in year 7, I think 5 years ago.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God, that long ago. Well, there you go.
Yeah, well, what are you on the show for today? Can you let us know?
So I'm here to quiz you guys on 11 questions that I've prepared earlier that I don't really remember. I know that you're Bombers and Magpies, so I've kind of tried to give you a fair balance of both.
Well, we're pumped for this, so let's go.
I hope it lives up to your expectations. So, should I begin?
Go for it.
All right. So, best of 10 or best of 11 with a bonus question. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, too easy.
All good.
Okay.
Let's go for it.
All right. Question 1. Start with an easy one. Who has coached the most AFL games?
Jackson.
Yes, Jackson.
Kevin Sheedy.
Incorrect.
Harper.
Yes,
Is it Alan Jeans?
incorrect. It is Mick Malthouse.
Oh, what do you know?
There you go. So I'll ask you question 2, but closest to the pin. How many games has he coached?
Harper.
Yes, Harper.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Are you allowed to
buzzing.
think after buzzing in? I don't think so.
Okay,
Jackson.
I'll just go. Okay, Jackson.
516.
All right, and Harper?
I'll go 602.
Yeah, you're closer, Harp, with 602. It's 718.
Whoa.
And I think Jeans and Sheedy were up in the top 5, I think, but they were pretty much down on, or they were a lot lower than Malthouse. I think at least 100 games each. So there you go.
One of my favourites, Alan Jeans. Big fan of the show.
Wait for your time, mister. Number 3. It says, who am I? I played 43 games with Richmond and then I moved to Collingwood where I won the Coleman Medal. Do you need some hints?
Maybe.
All right. You can get this guy.
Oh, yeah. Harper.
Yes,
Brian Taylor.
correct.
Oh,
And
BT.
BT.
there he is. Can you tell me what year, or closest to the pin, what year he won the Coleman?
Jackson. 82.
Oh, Harper?
Oh, I'll go 84.
Harper, you're closer again. It's 86.
Ooh.
Okay, Jackson, comeback time. Question 4. Who was the first player to win the Norm Smith medal despite him being on the losing team?
Jackson.
Yes.
Nathan Buckley.
Jackson, come good here. No.
Harper.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure this is wrong, but I know he did win it. It's Chris Judd.
Incorrect. 0 points there. It was Morris Rioli. So I'll give you a little bonus question there. What team did he play for?
Jackson.
Yep.
North Melbourne.
Jackson.
I'm not... Oh,
Not so good in the history on this podcast. Richmond?
Correct. Harper, 4-0. All right. Question 5. Maybe more your era, boys. In what year was Meatloaf the entertainment, in inverted commas, at the grand final?
Jackson.
Come on
I
in.
think it was 2010.
Oh, no, Jackson.
Oh, no.
I think Lionel Richie he did the replay 2010
Yeah,
grand
that's what
final.
I was thinking.
Yeah.
I know Lionel Richie did the replay.
You can
I was
buzz in,
thinking that
Harp.
Meatloaf did the first one.
Is it 2012?
No, incorrect. Middle ground, 2011.
Oh,
Oh, all right. So speaking of that grand final, can you tell me who sang the national anthem that year?
jeez. Harper.
Yeah,
Olivia Newton-John.
incorrect. Jackson, you want to go?
Jessica Malboy.
Oh, good try, but no. Vanessa Amorosi.
Okay.
All right.
One of my favourites.
Jackson, I really think you can come back with question 7. Which tragic event marred Collingwood's 1990 premiership victory?
Jackson.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure it's the death of Darren Mullane.
Yes, you
I was going to say
are.
Essendon losing.
That would be right too. So, yes, 1 year after they did win that grand final, he was killed in a car accident and he'd played 147 games and he joined the Magpies in 84. So it is Jackson 1 point, Harper 4. Jackson, you can still win this with 4 questions left. So go hard.
He's chasing me down.
Here we go.
Okay, so who claimed the wooden spoon in 2004?
Oh, jeez. Harper.
Yes.
Richmond.
Yes, you are correct, Harper.
Is that sealed? Has that sealed it?
If I let it be sealed, yes.
Yeah, maybe the last one will be like 7
Don't
points.
quite count your chickens. That's 5-1. The 1990 grand final, Essendon Collingwood, it was won by the Magpies, as I'm sure you both know. Can you tell me, or maybe we'll do closest to the pin, what was the final margin?
Jackson, 29.
Okay, and Harper?
I've got 23.
Jackson, you get it. It was 48, guys. So, Jackson, that's 2. And I'm going to make the next question. Jackson, you're on 2. Harper, you're on 5. So, what happened in that grand final, 1990, at quarter time? Thought you might know this one because it was Essendon Collingwood and it was pretty big at the time. But if you don't know it, I don't know how to give a hint.
Oh, was it like a streaker or something?
No, it was something that made worldwide news. Buzz in, you may guess it if you try.
Harper.
Yes.
A police force went onto the ground.
Can you give me the reasons why that is the case? Well, not police force, but there would have been police officers. But can you give me a reason why they had to go on the ground? Wild guess, you might get it.
Well, I said streaker before and that wasn't right.
It wasn't right.
I've got no idea.
All right. Jackson, give it a go.
Is there someone like a famous imposter? So someone who'd run on the field in a Essendon or Collingwood, Guernsey?
No, Jackson, that was your chance, but no, it wasn't. I will tell you the reason, and then there is another bonus question attached to it. At the sounding of the quarter-time siren, a wild brawl erupted in the Essendon forward pocket, and it drew all players on the ground and spread to officials, police, and security.
Wow.
It was massive, and it did make worldwide news. And there's plenty of YouTube videos out there. It's pretty crazy, actually. So, given you didn't get that one, I'll give you another one, and there's a chance, even though you don't know about the brawl, you may be able to guess who was involved. So, can you tell me who was flattened? Who did the flattening, and who was the flattened? The flattening, the perpetrator was from Collingwood, and the flattened was from obviously the Bombers.
Ray Shaw.
Incorrect. Harper, one go. I'll give you a hint, and first to buzz in. The flattened has had siblings playing at the time.
Oh, the flattened.
Yeah.
Siblings.
Yeah.
Not a Rioli.
No, incorrect. I'll have to tell you. It was Terry Danaher flattened by Gavin Brown.
I was thinking Gavin Brown, but I'm not sure if it was in that era, but yeah, okay.
There you go.
So that's it, boys. Sorry, I think maybe some of those questions either were wrong era or maybe not quite what you were expecting. So final score, Harper 5 and Jackson 2, and about 4 questions went unanswered or incorrectly answered. So I'm sorry for that.
Pick it up during the actual podcasts.
Excellent. All right, so well done, both of you, and thanks again for inviting me on.
I think that just about wraps us up. Thanks for coming on.
No worries.
Yeah, make sure you give us a 5-star review on all the different apps, the podcasting apps. And what are our Twitter and Instagram handles, Jackson?
So we're on Instagram and Twitter on WDWBpod.
And we've also just launched a Patreon. So if you want to hop onto that, support our little podcasting journey, we're on patreon.com/WDWBpod, and you can help support the show. Check out Facebook, Where Do We Begin, with a question mark. And yeah, thank you for listening. We've got a big episode that's already out, actually, with Courtney Dempsey. So make sure you have a listen to that. And we'll have another one midweek. And then after that, we'll just start doing it every Monday. So make sure you tune into all those. And thanks for listening.
That's so easy. See you guys.
See ya.